Welcome back to the canon, where we dive into the cinematic world of comic books and superheroes, and as always, bring you the stuff that matters. First, I want to introduce my partner, Sal.
Alright guys, thanks for joining us for our third episode. We really appreciate all the views we get, and don't forget to share it.
Yep, and I'm your host, Terry. Alright, so for today's episode, we're going to travel into the world of Star Wars with a thing we call thoughts, hopes, and theories. We're going to be looking ahead to episode 8, Rogue One, Han Solo movie, and the Boba Fett movie. Before we get started, I want to give us a spoiler alert. This conversation is going to involve spoilers, so if you haven't seen The Force Awakens, you might want to go see that first, then come back and check out our video. And before we get started with episode 8, we have a little bit of news that dropped. Disney has pushed the release date back. So instead of coming out in May 2017, episode 8 is coming out in December 2017. Sal, you got any thoughts on that?
Well, most of the news from the creators themselves has been all positive. They said Rian Johnson, the writer, is basically rewriting it, and that he wants to get the new characters that were introduced in episode 7. He wants to get their character development more in the forefront of the story than it already was. So that's their way of saying it. I know you have a little bit of a different take on it. So what were you thinking?
Yeah, for me, I think it's as simple as it's a money move. They saw what The Force Awakens did in December, and so just moving it back to that same spot makes sense. That is usually a dead period in the movie world because you have a few holiday movies that don't last too long, but other than that, there's no big blockbusters. And then, of course, you go into January, which is the real dead month, and then you make a lot of money because there's nothing to see but Star Wars. So for me, it's as simple as that. All right. So for episode 8, we're going to go character by character. First, we're going to start out with who we believe to be the main villain, and that's Kylo Ren. Sal, what are your thoughts on Kylo?
Well, in episode 7, we left off where Kylo is injured, and he didn't achieve what he wanted to get done. So I think to start off, I think episode 8 is going to take place at least 2 years into the future. So there's going to be a lot that's happening with a lot of these characters that we're going to talk about. So I think Kylo is coming back bigger, badder, and better in this number 8. He disappointed himself, and I think most importantly, he disappointed Snoke. Whatever they had planned, he did not get done. So I think he's out for redemption. I think a lot of people have a little bit of a problem with his character. So whatever's gonna get redone in the writing for 8, I think that's gonna fix it. Driver, I think he definitely knows that some of the people thought he was a little bit of a whiny baby. I think you did. So I think he's gonna step up his game as an actor, and the writers are going to make him a badass. I mean, I think he was fine, but other people didn't.
Yeah, I guess I am on that train of thought that it wasn't so much that he was whiny and stuff. I think that's what the character called for him to be emotional. Just me personally, I didn't want that character to be like that. I figured the villain and the way I saw Kylo in the promotions, that I felt I wanted him to be that, that bad guy that we wanted already, instead of trying to see him develop into it. But that's one way to go. As long as it's executed correctly, I think it'll be good for the story. But my hopes for him is kind of like you said. I want to see him be better. I want to see him be more sure of himself, and I want to see him be stronger in the dark side of the Force. And then maybe give us a little hint of why. I'm sure that is tied to a bigger story, but give us a little hint of why he went from the dark side when your parents are two heroes from the original trilogy.
Yeah.
All right. So next up is the character that probably generated the most discussion, and that is Rey. I'm gonna ask you simply, Sal, who is Rey's parents?
I don't know. I really don't. There have been so many theories out there. I know you're going to discuss one of them. Is she a Skywalker? I guess in my mind, that theory of her being a Skywalker is most valid. I mean, we don't know what happened to Luke after. I mean, we kind of do now. He was the teacher. but he could have met someone after that, and there was only, I think it was 20 years into the future is number 8 or 7. So we don't know who he met, or if he fathered her and he had to go into exile and, you know, they dropped her off. I think it'd be kind of cool if she was a Skywalker. But as of now, I don't know. I think, again, in the 2 years that it's going to be, I think she's going to progress her skills, and I think she's going to be a lot more sure of herself, as is Kylo Ren, like you said. So it's going to be interesting to see them clash again, and I'm sure it will happen, and it's going to be even better than it was in number 7.
Right. Yeah, for me, I just think that Rey is, at least for me, I love that she generates this much discussion and, you know, talk and speculation. And there's a lot of theories, but I think Kenobi's the one that I fall on. My head tells me Skywalker, because this is a Skywalker story, always has been, prequels or original trilogy. But my heart tells me it's Kenobi. And one interesting reason, like I was talking with you about, is John Boyega, who plays Finn, and Daisy Ridley, who plays Rey. They're both British actors. Yeah. And John Boyega was directed to have an American accent. As Daisy Ridley, she had her regular British accent. So obviously that was done on purpose. And who else do we know in this world that really has a British accent? And that is Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so that may be a small thing, but kind of big to me. Yeah. And I'm interested to see where they go with it. I don't think she's exactly Obi-Wan's daughter or anything. Maybe she's Obi-Wan's granddaughter or something like that. But I think she's tied into Kenobi some way, somehow. And so that would be my thought. All right. So what about her new BFF, Finn, formerly known as FN2187?
Yeah. So his future for me is a little bit unclear. Like we left off in episode 7, he got his back all shredded up by Kylo Ren. So I was telling you, wouldn't it be awesome if he had like this metallic robotic back for some reason? Right. I don't know why, but that would be pretty cool, I think. So maybe he will. But I just see him moving up in the ranks of the Resistance, and we still don't know his past. So finding out what happened to him, I think, is definitely going to happen in episode 8. We have a lot of pasts to go through. We have Kylo's, we have Rey's, and now Finn. And so I think we're definitely going to find more, and we're going to see what the Finn character is going to become. And it's going to be exciting to see.
Yeah, I don't have any theories on Finn. Not too many hopes, but just focusing on what I thought about him in episode 7. I really like the character. He brought a level of comedy that we haven't seen in Star Wars. People will say the original trilogy had laughs, but not like this. This was a different type of laughs that we weren't used to. But his charisma, his energy, it made him a breakout star for John Boyega at least. But I just really like what he did with the character. And I think he's brave in his own way. He's a fighter, and I just kind of want to see more of that. And yeah, I really like it, and I just want to see where he fits. Okay, so what do you think about Poe Dameron, who we didn't see that much in the movie?
Yeah, so Oscar Isaacs, I'm a really big fan of his. Again, like you just said, we didn't see much of Poe, but what we did see was the camaraderie between him and Finn. And I think that's going to really grow in episode 8. I think Finn is going to take, I think Poe is going to take Finn under his wing in this, whatever, 2 years, 3 years.
Under his X-Wing?
Under his X-Wing, there you go. And I think they're going to really bond, and that might be a bad thing for Poe, because I think my theory, maybe not hope, but my theory is that Poe is going to die. Maybe not in this next episode, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I think he's going to die. I think, like I said, him and Finn are going to have a very strong relationship, and he's a very important part, as you can see, to the Resistance. So I think he's going to be one of the losses for the good guys. So,
yeah, that's interesting to talk about Poe dying. I think with Oscar Isaac being as big of a star he is, that's plausible, because maybe he doesn't have time to do the last Star Wars movie or even the next trilogy after that. So it's possible he could die. My only hope really is just we see more of Poe in this next movie. I think the little bit we saw of him was amazing as far as opening scene, giving us that first laugh, then coming back in the X-Wing and just destroying the First Order. So I love that, and I just want to see more of Poe, see more of who he is. And then also, I'm kind of hoping, though, if he doesn't die, I want him to take on the new Han Solo role. You know, that leather jacket wearing cool guy.
Yeah.
You know, he's got the charisma to do the funny stuff. He's got the skills and the confidence to be a hero. So, and I just want to see him take on the Han Solo role.
Yeah.
Okay, so lastly is Supreme Leader Snoke. There's a lot of theories out there.
Yeah.
Who is Snoke, Sal?
Snoke is not a future Kylo Ren, I'll tell you that. I don't think that at all. And he's not Jar Jar Binks or anything like that crazy stuff everyone's saying. I think, and it's easy to say this, but I think he's Darth Plagueis. You see those battle scars that he has, and it can come from anywhere, but I think it would be much more interesting if Plagueis went away and Sidious thought he killed him, but he really didn't, and now he's back. We saw a lot of Snoke. We saw actually a lot of him in episode 7, a lot more than I thought we were. Mm-hmm. I thought he was going to be a more mysterious kind of character, but in any case, I think we're going to see a lot more of him, maybe even in person this time. People are saying that he's a Force ghost. I don't know. He could be. I don't know. That's what they were saying, but it's going to be interesting to see him and Kylo's relationship now. And maybe he has another Knights of Ren guy with him. I don't know. So they left it open is basically what I'm trying to say. So I don't think we'll see Snoke. I don't think we'll find out who Snoke is just yet in episode 8. I think we're gonna have to wait till the episode 9. But just excited to see more of him, and maybe they will. Maybe they'll throw us a bone. So
yeah, I think my head tells me he's Darth Plagueis. That seems the most reasonable of all the theories. But my heart and my gut is just telling me that it's a new character. It's as simple as that. They wrote a new character, and we'll of course get to see his background and how he plays into the whole world. But I think there's a lot of possibilities, of course, when you go that way. And he's just someone new, because Darth Plagueis almost seems like it's the obvious choice. Just kind of like Rey being a Skywalker, so obvious that you're like, that can't be the right answer. Yeah. So to me, in my gut, I think they're just going to pull a fast one and give us a new character.
That'd be interesting.
All right, so now moving on to the now officially titled Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, which will open up on December 16th in 2016. This is one of the anthology movies, which are basically movies that are in the Star Wars universe, but they're not a part of the episode storyline like Force Awakens. In this movie, we'll see the story of the rebel group that went on a mission to steal the plans for the Death Star, leading into episode 4, A New Hope. Sal, what are your thoughts, hopes, or theories about this movie?
My hopes that there's no Darth Vader in this. I know a lot of people are saying, well, he has to be, and yeah, this guy. And I feel like that's just too easy. I mean, they gave us a lot of nostalgic moments here in episode 7, and either way, I'm probably going to geek out anyways, even if Darth Vader is there. Maybe I'll change my mind, but I feel like this can be its own standalone movie, and I feel like it would be much more entertaining, to me at least, if they can do without any nostalgia in this. I mean, they have the whole cast almost already for this movie, so if they can take that, if they can write it well, it can be. I think it could be fine as its own standalone movie without any. I feel like nostalgia for this movie would be a crutch, and I don't particularly believe in that in this movie. So, but I'm excited for it, and on the other side of the coin, the nostalgia of just talking about Rogue One is cool to me. So I think that's enough. That in itself alone is enough nostalgia for me to be very interested in this movie.
Yeah, so just to start off with all the anthology movies, I think my common theme is I don't think they're necessary.
Yeah.
So just kind of going off of that, I'm gonna counteract your point about Darth Vader. So where you say it's nostalgia, I look at it as we already know the story. And so when the fans or the viewer already knows what's going to happen, what becomes the biggest part is the reveal to me. And so if you have Darth Vader, I think the way you reveal him is going to be the most important part of this movie. I'm not saying Darth Vader as in have him in as the main villain. Mm-hmm. I think you have him, you know, kind of in the shadows. They're, you know, the commanders, the officers, the lieutenants, all of them are the ones that are like freaking out over this rebel group, and they're trying to stop them. And they're freaking out because they know Vader's going to find out, and it just builds up, and then maybe at the very end, where the rebel group is leaving, and you just hear that, and you know Vader's coming. But for me, you can't have a story that, you know, takes place in that universe and still in something that important without having the main lieutenant head person in charge, Vader, finding out or at least showing up to see what's going on. So for me, you gotta have him in there. He doesn't have to be prominent, but I think you just have to be in there, and the reveal is gonna be the biggest key to this movie. Alright, so next up we have the Han Solo movie. But before we get into this, the first real piece of news for this movie just dropped when the short list for the actors that are competing to be playing the young Han Solo, it was finally leaked out. This list includes Miles Teller from Whiplash, Dave Franco from Neighbors, Scott Eastwood from The Longest Ride, Jake Rayner from Transformers 4, Logan Lerman from Percy Jackson and Fury, Blake Jenner from Glee, Ansel Elgort from the Divergent series and Fault in Our Stars, and Emery Cohen from Brooklyn. So with this new list out, Sal, what are your thoughts about the list, and what are your hopes for who will be the new Han Solo?
My thoughts about the list are no Miles Teller, no Dave Franco. I like the theme of the unknowns for so far what the Star Wars universe has become. So I don't have anything against them. I mean, with Dave Franco, I wouldn't, my suspension of disbelief, I don't think would go away if Dave Franco helmed Han Solo. So that's one aspect of it. But, you know, in terms of the movie itself, I don't think it needs to get made. I mean, I'm maybe one of the only people that don't think Han Solo is that interesting. I don't know. Maybe that's not the right word. But I don't know. I guess there is a lot of material that could be done for Han Solo, especially his past life. So in terms of money, why not do it? I mean, they're going to do it anyways. So, but you know, it's nothing that's going to get me really excited. Will I go see it? Of course. But you know, I don't think it needs to get made. I think the writing and the talent should be used for something else down the line. So. But you know, he's dead now, so maybe we do have to do it. I don't know. But yeah, so what about you?
Yeah, I'm right on the same line with you that this movie's not necessary, and really for a lot of reasons. But the main reason that makes this movie kind of difficult to make is that it's confirmed they want the actor to play Han Solo in Rogue One, at least for a cameo. So with that being said, and you know, you probably noticed by now I'm a timeline type person.
Yeah.
So let's look at this. We don't know exactly how long before A New Hope the Rebels got the Death Star plans, but we know it's not years and years and years.
Yeah.
So let's say max 2 years in between. So you're telling me whoever's playing Han Solo is going to be a 2-year younger version of what I saw with
A New Hope.
With our original Han Solo, and that does not compute in my head. So, and looking at the list, so my thoughts on the list is that this studio doesn't really know where they're going with this, because you have a wide range of actors, and even we heard the test before. They had people as far as 34 years old, people as young as 16. So they really didn't understand where they're going, and this list kind of confirms it for me. But living in the world of this movie is going to happen, my hope is that they take either Scott Eastwood or Logan Lerman. Eastwood, he hasn't proven much as far as his acting goes, but his look, I think he's the number one guy that would give you the look of a Han Solo. That's like the, square chin, just hero type looking person.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So, Chisel.
Yeah, right. And so Logan Lerman, he's more of the one with the most talent. Miles Teller, probably, but Miles Teller looks, no. So Logan Lerman, as far as look and talent, he was in Fury, amazing movie. And he also did Percy Jackson, which didn't do that well, but he wasn't bad in it. And he led, 2 movies with that.
Yeah.
So he has experience in front of the camera. He has probably the most talent next to Miles Teller, and he looks like him. But if I had my way, this movie would not happen because it just doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
Like, the only story I think that's cool is maybe how he met Chewbacca and stuff like that. But other than that, Han Solo, what are you going to tell us?
Yeah, that we don't already know.
Right. All right, and lastly, we have the Boba Fett movie, the story about the popular bounty hunter from the original trilogy. This movie was supposedly replaced by the Han Solo movie after director Josh Trank left the project because of the meltdown he had with the Fantastic Four, but we won't get into those rumors. What do you think about the idea of a Boba Fett movie?
I really, really like it. I think, if anything, this is the movie that they can go back to and make. Boba Fett is, I would say, the most popular Star Wars character in any aspect of the film, in comics, in just regular books, in the films. So I think it needs to be made because there's so much unknown between Boba Fett's life. You don't know where he's been. We saw his dad die in the second trilogy, but other than that, I think there's so much you can go off of that is going to be really, really interesting to see. In the end, maybe you can even get him after he fell into the pit. You could go from there. I don't know. There's so much room for it, but he was the original outline for Darth Vader. I don't know if a lot of people know that. Not particularly his actual character, but and there's not much to go on his character anyways. He doesn't really talk. So, but Darth Vader was supposed to be this bounty hunter, supposed to look like Boba Fett, but they kind of went with a different thing. So Boba Fett, I think it's owed to him. I think it's owed to George Lucas, who created him to make his own movie. And I think everyone would go see it.
This is one that I agree, kind of for the most part, that maybe not necessary, but it definitely makes sense to make. There's so much you could tell because there's so much we don't know. My only hope is that you stick with the canon. And I'm not going to get into how much I like or dislike the prequels because I think they're necessary and I think they're not as bad as people say. But one part that I really love is the clones. And so if you stick with the canon, Disney has said the prequels are canon. So Boba Fett is a clone, a natural birth clone from Jango Fett, but he's a clone nonetheless. So there were talks that when Josh Trank was going to do the movie, Michael B. Jordan was going to star. And so it's just like, please just stick with what you got. Yeah. You don't have to get the kid that played him, in the prequels, even though he's probably the right age right now. But you don't have to do all that. But stick with what you said. He was a clone, and just show us his adventures. Show us his adventures after his dad died. But yes, I think also I want to see it with some really good action. Really, really, you have the technology now. He's a bounty hunter. We didn't see much of his weapons and stuff, so you could, kind of like they've done with the comics and the games and stuff, really explore it and make it real visual.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that.
All right, and now it's time for one of our favorite segments, the SmackDown of the Week. For this week, Sal's going to start. What's your SmackDown?
All right, my SmackDown is for you, Grace Randolph. For you that don't know Grace Randolph is also a YouTube vlogger. Her videos are okay, but that is not why we're here today. Why we're here today is because Grace Randolph made a petition for a PG-13 rated Deadpool. Now, Grace, come on. Deadpool has been 12, 13, 14 years in the making to come to the big screen. They are not going to give it a PG-13 rating. This movie was made to be rated R. And even if they did do it, you know how long it would take for the editor to re-cue everything? They've had to go back to pre-production to plan this out. Now, I'm sorry this 8-year-old kid cannot see Deadpool. I'm sorry he's got to wait 10 years. But that's how life goes sometimes. So, Grace, I'm going to give you a Macho Man Randy Savage elbow from the top rope for this week's SmackDown.
All right, and for my SmackDown, it's going to be Adam Driver for doing the SNL sketch about Kylo Ren and the Undercover Boss. Now, Adam Driver, you think you can make me laugh and, watch your videos 50 times, and that's going to cover up for the fact that you just ruined Kylo Ren for me? Even though you were emotional in the movie, I kind of forgave you. But then you got Kylo coming out there doing Undercover Boss, dressed up in the glasses. So when I go see episode 8, all of it I'm going to think of is Matt, and how that girl didn't have her muffin, and how you choke somebody out in the lunchroom, and I'm going to start laughing again. So how do you feel about that? You ruined episode 8 for me. So I'm going to give you a Randy Orton style RKO SmackDown. Don't let it happen again. And that will be the show for us today. If you like what you heard and you want more of the canon, please give us the ammo by clicking the subscribe button below. Sal, I want to thank you for today. Where can the people find us?
The people can find us on Twitter at The Canon Vlog or on Facebook, facebook.com/The Canon.
All right, and I'm your host today, Terry. And remember, if you heard it here today, it's canon. My favorite part that I always is stuck in my head is when they cut him open out of the bag. He jumps out, just punches someone. Yeah. I'm like, this is a Suicide Squad movie.